Watching Retro Gaming Revival live.
Good evening, it's Wednesday, it's 8 PM. That means one thing, it's time for Retro Game Revival Live. A little bit different this week. We've not got a gamer on, but we have got a entertainment legend. But before we introduce him, let's have a little quick look who's with us this evening. Lunners, hello.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I'm delayed, but we'll soon find out.
You seem right to me.
No, I'm joking.
Good luck saying it.
Seem right, yeah, good.
Yeah, seem right to me. All good.
It's nice you turned up on time for once, that's nice.
Yeah, football's cancelled, that's why.
We've got a man fresh from his FIFA journey. It's Triangle Face.
And what a journey it was. Hello.
It was a very, very painful journey by the looks of it.
Yes,
And our special guest today, I can't believe he's actually said yes to this. Big long CV, so it's the actor, the director, the producer, the writer, the mentor, the educator, the variety entertainer, and the consultant. It's the legendary Jeffrey Weissman. Good. Is it morning there?
I'm still digging your opening music, man.
Do you like it? You like it? I can send you the recording if you want.
Oh yes, please.
I will get that sorted for you. But no, thank you for joining us. It's always a massive, exciting buzz when I've said it before. When people not only read your messages but reply and say yes. So thank you very much for joining us. Absolutely, yeah, very, very excited. So I hope you're well, and I hope you're recovering from your power cut and storm over there.
Oh yeah, it was a beaut. Yeah, I'm a little rough around the edges. We had major, as you can probably tell from the international news, major activity here in the atmosphere in California. So we, let's see, was the tornado watch was night before last, and then all the power went out, and then we had hail and sleet and snow and rain and lightning. Lots of fun, lots of trees falling.
It's mad. It's madness, isn't it?
Yeah. So look, I know we had a quick chat offline, but yeah, whenever we get a bit of moisture in the air, a bit of drizzle, it's like, oh, this weather's horrible. But yeah, I dread to think what we would do if we had weather like yours.
Well, I was in the UK last year a few times.
Oh yeah, whereabouts?
And both Northampton, not Nottingham. Nottingham. Then came back to London for the Comic-Con, and during the heat wave.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Some places weren't equipped with central air, and people were just miserable. I was like, well, this is kind of like almost like what we get in California. Really felt terrible to see so many people suffering, though. And then, of course, I stayed in an Airbnb for a few days, and there was no air, and I was like, oh, I understand. This is terrible.
Yeah.
Get me back to the hotel, please.
It's crazy. Yeah, we can't cope with the weather over here or whatsoever.
No.
We can't cope with extremes.
Even if it snows, we shut down, don't we?
Yeah.
If it snows, the country shuts down.
The trains stop, or the airplanes stop. It comes to a grinding halt. No, thank you for joining us. Very, very excited. I'm very nervous as well, but very, very excited. So,
just deep in the breath.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll do my stretches and that. But yeah, so obviously we're going to ask you a few questions. But our first one is basically you're in the entertainment industry. So, what's your early entertainment memories? How did you actually get into the industry?
How did I get into it? I wanted, pretty much as far back as I can remember, wanted to be an actor. I had just always been the ham, the clown of both the family dinner table and then in school. And I had seen a lot of actors and people in show business. My father ran some private clubs, and I met a lot of those actors, Omar Sharif, Don Adams, and Warren Green, and I just wanted to do it as long as I can remember, and started getting on stage as a kid, and then in school quite a bit. Then started realizing I needed to take it more serious to get training and help storytelling instead of just being it's all about me and ego. But then finally getting into being more of an ensemble player and support player and putting together characters. So I do every kind of acting, I think. I've studied years and years of improvisational technique, making it up on the fly, going into the unknown without a net, of immersive theater, doing Renaissance fairs and Charles Dickens Christmas fairs, where your audience is all around you at the whole show, lots of stage work, and then lots of television and film work as well.
So how do you make the leap from like stage to going on like TV and later on into blockbuster movies?
Like this. What? It's really kind of it's all based in truth, your character's truth, and then using yourself and your truths and combining it all, and then adapting to the medium. For camera work, on film work, your audience is right here. So you need to stay open to your audience. With television, you have a bit bigger of a palette to paint with. It's a larger, and often with like comedy sitcoms, there's a 3-camera setup with stage. You've got your proscenium and you're playing out to the last row. And with environmental theater, you're playing around you and everywhere you go. So like when I turn away, I raise my voice so I'm still heard. So being aware of your audience and adapting to where they are and keeping the story and connection going. That's basically it.
Oh, wow.
All right, I'll bill you guys for a lesson.
Yes, I was going to say, yeah, because obviously a bit later on we get into your teaching. But I did actually get, when I was in school in drama, I did get an A for that. So
wow, did you?
Yeah, I've not gone sadly into theatre, TV, films, unfortunately.
I managed to get an A in drama as well, actually, at GCSE.
Oh, come on, your money.
There you go. So maybe Jeff.
I didn't do GCSE, so don't worry about it.
I've known you long enough. I can call you babe.
Oh, he's been called worse. Yeah. But yeah, I did get an A in drama, but it didn't happen for me, sadly. What can you do? Although
it's never
in my luck, in my luck, I'll probably get a part on EastEnders or something on the market stall. I don't know if you've seen EastEnders.
Are they still making EastEnders?
They are.
Yeah, still going.
Still going.
I'm not going to lie, it's garbage. It's garbage. Yeah, I get forced to watch
Let's start somewhere.
Yeah, but like I get forced to watch it. I'm just like, I don't know who these people are. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, so I think your first role, correct me if I'm wrong, was Twilight Zone in a film.
Oh, okay. I was going all the way back to when I played a bunny in a production on as a kid.
Yeah, that's about that bunny.
Easter pageant or something. Yes, my parents didn't want me to go into acting. They'd seen how the actors they knew struggled and that it was a very difficult life, and they wouldn't let me as a kid audition. And I friends who were on different TV shows or in different movies and such, and I kind of was stuck to doing community theater and school productions and such. And then as soon as I was 18 out of high school, I jumped. My parents couldn't tell me what to do. So I started getting on sets at major motion picture studios in crowd scenes in films like The Rose. I think The Rose was probably my first one with Bette Midler. Then a thing called FM and Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, where I got brainwashed by Alice Cooper. and was in 3 other scenes besides. But I learned that was, background extra work, which was not very fulfilling for an actor who wants to, hone their craft. So I needed to get training, and I finally realized that was the only way I was going to be taken seriously. And I went to the American Conservatory Theater to the MFA program, and got an opportunity through an open call to screen test for the lead in a film called War Games. And through that, I got a pretty hot agent. And Martin Brest, who was the original director before John Badham came on. Martin unfortunately got released after a week or 2 of shooting. Martin Brest had told this agent that I was his favorite for the role. And I'd come in through, there were 5 open call casting calls, and I think I was the only actor to screen test with Ali Sheedy for the role that came from those open calls. But other actors came in through their agents, like Eric Stoltz and Dana Carvey and such. And none of us got it, and it went to, Matthew Broderick. But I still had to move back to LA. And about 3 months after getting back to Hollywood, I met with George Miller, the director of so many fantastic movies. At the time, I was a huge Road Warrior fan and Mad Max. And he and I hit it off. He was just a gem, I thought, of a human being. And I got basically a slightly expanded background role as one of the passengers on the airplane.
Yes.
And he said during rehearsals, if you have inspiration of a line or some business, some action, let's try it out. And so I was able to expand my part. I, develop lines. My newlywed wife, actress, and I would fight over the pillow. We'd cry in each other's arms. We'd come up with all these bits and such. A lot of the time, though, Alan Davio, the cinematographer, would want to put the camera where my seat was. So I would go hang out in the back of the airplane fuselage with the extras, and I'd learn, incredible stories. There was a punk guy named Spaz Attack. What was his real name? I forget. He was a choreographer and had just finished working on Blade Runner. He had a fight scene with Harrison Ford in it, which unfortunately got cut. We didn't see him in the film. But it was really cool to hear his stories. And then Milton Berle's brother, Jack Berle, was one of the professional extras back there. And he told stories about his brother, like Al Capone, the notorious gangster, kidnapping his brother, making sure that he played his nightclub, even though Uncle Milty said, no, I've got this other booking and stuff. Kidnapped him at the airport. I just loved being on that set. I had a really nice relationship with the ensemble cast. There was Donna Dixon and I hit it off right away. Let me see if I can pull up a couple photos to show you guys.
Yes, please.
But let's see, there was, please expand. My photos aren't expanded. Let's see. So I was just thrilled to be on this set, and I couldn't get enough.
Yeah.
Here you can see me looking out on the wing. Is that coming through?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Wow.
I had I think it was the second night of the shoot. In the middle of the night, I felt this terrible pain in my arm, and I lifted my arm up, and there was a kitten that my cat had just had kittens, and I pulled the kitten off my arm, and I said, yeah, and went back to sleep. And the next day, I had developed a lump in my elbow, and I remember Jack Burrell saying, "Oh, that's just a cyst. Rub that, and it'll go away." I rubbed and rubbed it, and it became 2. And then I developed another one in my armpit. And the next day there were lines going up my arm, and I felt sick. And so I was supposed to have lunch with John Lithgow at the commissary, and I instead had to go see the Warner Brothers studio nurse, who sent me to a nearby doctor, who said, "Drop your drawers," and gave me 2 shots of penicillin in the butt. And those red lines going up your arm was blood poisoning heading to your heart. I was like, huh?
Whoa.
Wow. I had cat scratch fever.
That's mad.
Anyway,
vicious, deadly.
It was really it was a little scary moment there for Jeffrey. In the next few days, while I was on that set, I was kind of out of it. I had really was dizzy from the medications and from the sickness, and since then I've had a hard time flying.
Oh wow!
I had let's see if I can find a couple more pictures from it, because it really was a fun shoot for me, and yet at the same time I was sick as a dog. And I remember when the next flights I took, I couldn't stand flying. It felt terrible. I started feeling claustrophobic and such. And there I am. You see, I had big hair back then.
Look at that hair. That's amazing. Yeah. That's beautiful.
See, so this was 1984, I guess. 1982. Yeah, 1982. It came out, I think, in '83. And well, yeah, before most people were born. Anyway, I'm now growing my hair long again because pandemic, you could stay home and grow your hair, and I like having long hair, and I'm using it now in parts and stuff. But like I mentioned, I got along really great with Donna, and she had just broken up with her beau from Kiss, and would confide in me her stories and stuff. And I was slowly falling in love, and I was going to ask her out on a date when she started, I guess, kindling or rekindling whatever she had going with Dan Aykroyd, and they're still together. I remember when Sneakers was shooting with Robert Redford and Sidney Poitier, River Phoenix, all, I kind of hung out where that cast had their trailers and such. And I saw Dan, and I said, "Hey, I got these pictures of your wife." And he looked at me like, "What?"
Well, let's get it.
I said, "Well, here, give her this." And he looked at me like, "Yeah, you better, yeah, okay." And let's see, how do I forgot how I stopped sharing? There we go. So yeah, I had a lot of fond memories. Shortly after Twilight's a movie, I auditioned for Louis Malle, the wonderful director Louis Malle, for a film. He was remaking an Italian comedy called Crackers, and I got to do a scene with Sean Penn in that. And Sean and his brothers and I went to the same high school, and so it was kind of cool to reconnect with Sean, be on that set, and get to know briefly Donald Sutherland and Wallace Shawn and Jack Ward. Just really, really wonderful to be on sets with stars that I admire. I've enjoyed that more than anything, I think. When I go to Comic-Cons and meet my heroes, I just love it. I can't get enough of it.
Yeah. Right, you know how we feel. You know how we feel now.
Yeah.
I think it's. I think personally, that Nightmare at 30,000 feet with yourself and John Lithgow, I think that's a lot better than the one with William Shatner, personally, because I do remember watching that when I was obviously very, very young, and seeing that demon on the wing used to scare the XXX out of me. Very, very frightening. But yeah, I think it's personally a lot better than the one with William Shatner.
It was considered the best episode, I think, of the movie. It was a very difficult being a part of that movie, just because the terrible tragedy that took place with poor Vic Morrow and the kids. Yeah. And I was frankly shocked that Spielberg decided to complete the film, but at the same time, I was happy to be on a set and working, and very happy to be in the best episode. And it was really a thrill to see how friendly some of these stars were. John would show up at restaurants. As an actor, you work every kind of job you can get to make a living while trying to get work. And I would be a valet parking attendant or PBX operator or a cook. And at two different restaurants, both an industrial hamburger joint that I was flipping burgers at, and then at the Hard Rock Cafe, John would show up with his kids. And he'd say, "Jeffrey, there you are. You always turn up." And my coworkers would look at me going, "You know him?"
Yeah.
He's always very sweet.
Oh, that's brilliant. But yeah, I personally think it's the best version. But that's but yeah, you've gone into TV shows. I've got a couple of ones listed here. Obviously, we do a lot of research. Max Headroom, I do remember a bit of that. That's a very, very strange program, but I got you down as being in that. Diagnosis Murder, which I used to love watching that. Loved that show with old Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I did a lot of 80s stuff. I'm hoping that some of these retro 80s cons will bring me in because of those. I had just agreed to do the 40th anniversary show for the Crow and Mrs. King anniversary, the TV show, which I was a guest star apparently on the second highest rated episode of that series.
Wow.
I was like, far out, bring me in. So that's coming up this year.
Brilliant.
I had a fun time on Max Headroom, working with Jeffrey Tambor and Chris and company. And let's see, Dallas. It played Screech's Guru on Saved by the Bell.
I was just going to mention that. Yeah, Saved by the Bell. Yeah, very, very, quite an iconic show, I think.
Yeah. God rest Dustin.
Yeah, he's passed away, bless him, Dustin Diamond. But yeah, I've got you down as being in Saved by the Bell as well, which I'm sure all three of us will admit to. We did used to watch that.
Yeah, it was very popular over there, wasn't it?
Yeah, very popular.
I had a fun little bit on a film called Johnny Dangerously, where I sold the I Heart Johnny T-shirts, and had a fabulous time meeting Joe Piscopo and Michael Keaton and Maureen Stapleton was just I adored. So when the cast party happened, I couldn't go. I was working catering at that point. As it turned out, the catering job I had was the cast party. And so I go to 20th Century Fox, and they're showing the outtakes during the party. And there were a lot of musical numbers in Johnny Dangerously. And I could see why they got cut, because everyone was like off key, or they didn't work, but it was hilarious to see. And I remember I was serving Amy Heckerling, the director, and Michael Keaton their drinks. And Michael leaned over to Amy and said, "What? Wasn't he in the film?" You know, a nice moment.
You should have said, "Oh, I'm just working," you know.
Yeah,
I'm doing this.
I'm researching for a part. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm doing some research. So I want to touch on, if we can. I understand you're a teacher. You do some teaching work.
Yes, class. Where's your homework?
The dog ate it.
All right, bring the dog in. I want to see that homework.
I'll have to go to a local kennel and grab one. So what about you teaching? I'm quite intrigued with that, because obviously, you know, like me and Triangle Face got quite good grades in drama. So do you think you'll be able to teach us some tricks?
I'm happy to. I've been doing, since, of course, the pandemic, a lot of teaching virtually. I figured out how to get, say, two students to do a scene together, then stop the class, download it, you know, via Zoom or what have you, and then restart it after recording it, and so I can play it back, share the screen, and play back and discuss what's going on in the connection and how to work it. So it's been, you know, a learning curve for me how to do it virtually, but it's working, which I'm really happy about. I have taught at different universities and private acting studios. I've taught everything from comedy and improvisation to commedia dell'arte, and building a character and script development. Class that was for writers, directors, and actors, where every week we would put in production something that a writer in real time was developing, while rehearsing with another group what we're going to shoot the next week. And then there'd be a part of the class where we'd screen what we shot from the previous week and then critique it. And it was especially great for writers to see if their material was gelling, if it was resonating truth, what needed to be adjusted. And I would give the writers the option to hear live feedback or get it in writing, or none at all, because a lot of writers, once they see what is going on, they know what they need to fix. You know, it's trying to adapt to whatever the students' needs are. And that class became incredibly popular. And that was at the San Francisco School of Digital Filmmaking.
Oh, wow.
Wow, yeah. Because
I've taught, like I said, as well, teachers. I've taught teachers how to use theater games and improvisation in the classroom to develop creative writing and other confidence building techniques for their students.
Yeah, because I've put some notes here, and I'm glad you pronounced that Italian word or Italian phrase, because I was going to pronounce it as commedia dell'arte.
Commedia. I'm not Italian, but I've got a lot of Italian friends. Yes, exact boing. I've like I mentioned before, I've done lots of festival Renaissance fairs and Italian festivals and such. And I early on started playing Arlecchino, and then some Capitano, and then even Pantalone. My wife built me a Puccinella Citrullo outfit, Puccinella with the sugarloaf hat and the big belly and the hunchback. And these commedia characters that are 800 plus years old never get old. They're fantastic because in history, the church actually forbade theater on the stages in I don't know, about 1000 to about 1200 or so. There was no stage shows unless it was a morality play or a passion play about Christ. And finally, the Italian people said, we need theater. We need to make fun of the abuse of power and so on and so forth. So these street performers, usually families, started performing in these stock characters that I just mentioned, Arlecchino and Columbina, Isabella, and they'd carry these slapsticks, and that term slapstick comes out of commedia. And if they knew what they were going to do, they'd have, I got to get that from point A to point B, point C to tell this story. In between, it's all going to be improvised. And if it goes south, we have our slapsticks to hit each other on the butt till we get back on track. And it's really a fantastic physical form of entertainment, and it never gets old, like I mentioned.
Oh wow! I'll have to look into that. I never heard of it before. I obviously know what slapstick is, but yeah, I've never heard of that sort of that type there. So I'm gonna.
You got a rabbit hole to go down. Check it out.
I am going to. I promise you that. I will do. Now, obviously, I think for me, you're probably best well known for the classic Back to the Future 2 and 3, playing George McFly. My favourite George McFly is you as the elder George McFly when you're upside down. Yeah, I just find that absolutely hilarious. Like, you got your comb over, here, but it's sort of sticking up because obviously you're upside down. And then you go, I did it at the golf course.
Did it at the golf course.
Yeah, I don't know why. It just whenever I watch Back to the Future 2, I look forward to when they're in Marty's house, because I know that you'll come through and you'll say those little phrases and your hair's all sticking up. It's so funny. So
thank you.
How did that actually happen?
It really was kind of a fluke. It's amazing for me to be told that it's my most famous role and that and it was your favorite George. When the first film came out, I had already worked with Crispin Glover on another film at the American Film Institute with Dan O'Hurley, and I thought Crispin was a fascinating actor and got his number and tried to stay in touch. And in '84, when they were making the first Back to the Future movie, I was co-starring with Clint Eastwood in Pale Rider. Clint's return to Westerns in many years. And I wanted to see what the competition in '85 with Pale Rider was going to be. So I went to see this Back to the Future that Michael J. Fox was in, Chris Lloyd, and I was a big fan of their work already. And there was Crispin doing this incredible character of George. And I was like, I know that dude. He's knocking it out of the park. It was incredible. And even called him to congratulate him. Little did I know that 4 years later, I'd get a call. I was in between TV and film work, started playing Stan Laurel of Laurel and Hardy and Charlie Chaplin and Groucho Marx at Universal Studios on their tour. And because I think of me doing this look-alike and sound-alike work, I got a call from an agent who helped me get that job, who asked if I knew who Crispin was. I said, of course, yeah. Done some work with him. And he said, well, they're looking for a photo double for him. I said, for Back to the Future Part 2, because it already had been released in the trades that they were going to do the sequels. They called it Back to the Bank because they'd thrown enough money at all the principals to get back on stage. And I said, get me in there. I need the work. And he said, I'm not allowed to say what the project is. I was like, okay. So I met with the assistant directors who then talked about me with the director, who then started sending me to casting. And I read the scene for the casting director of where George and Marty are hanging the laundry in the backyard. Yeah. And I guess that went well. And then I started going to makeup, who cast my face and cast my body for a special effect. Did you ever see the bonus material where George finally rotates his axis for pizza?
No, I don't think so. No.
Oh, no. If you like me as old George, I have probably more footage in the deleted scenes than I do in the actual film. So go look for that. So I was in the body cast fitting and the prosthetic makeup fittings, and then I did a screen test in the young George makeup. And I remember Dick Tracy, Warren Beatty's Dick Tracy was shooting in this soundstage next door during my screen test. And I had the young George makeup on, which took 4 hours to put on, and running into William Forsythe and I think it was Dustin Hoffman in their makeup from Dick Tracy. They were looking at me and I'm looking at them, and they were like, what are you supposed to be? And I said, what are you supposed to? It was eating of the prosthetic makeups, circa 1988. Anyway, so during that screen test, I remember hearing Zemeckis say to Dean Cundy, the cinematographer, what do you think, Dean? And Dean said, I think we have Crispin without the trouble.
Trouble, yeah.
And I was like, what is that supposed to be? And then it was my makeup artist who told me, Crispin's out. You're going to be playing George. And I was like, what? Wow. And because I thought they needed George at multiple places at the same time. Mm-hmm. And little did I know that he was butting heads with the producers at the time over contract negotiations. And they waited, of course, until the 11th hour, until the negotiations had broke down completely, as evidenced in my script. 2 and 3 were one script called Paradox, and the scene example in part 2 in the kitchen of the McFlys. There's about 4 or 5, maybe 6 different versions of that scene. In one of them, it's Marty in the ortholev. Oh,
really?
It's Marty who's in it, and I'm like, oh, okay. Marty. They say, what happened, Marty? Oh, my back went out while I was playing squash. That's wild. So they didn't know if they had a George or not. So they were trying to, cover their bases. The writers, the Bobs were probably writing different possibilities to back themselves up in case of, they didn't have a George, or in case they had one, but like in my case, they didn't know me as an actor. So they started, when I got on set, giving my lines to Leah or to Mike. And I was like, hey, I'm an actor. I can do lines. So I fought to get some of my lines back.
Yeah.
And I did a few bits. Example, you remember Fruit, Please? Leah gets Marlene, Michael is my granddaughter Marlene, to give me a banana, and I started eating the banana upside down, but the peel kept slapping me in the face. And I think Zemeckis thought it was a funny bit, but they didn't keep it in. I do still have a photo still, in case you want an autographed photo of a deleted shot from the film. You write me through my website, and
yes, please.
I'll charge you fair market value.
Do we get friends prices? Friends prices.
Mates rates.
Friends. Yeah. And of course, you could get a Pizza Hut.
Oh,
there you
wow,
go.
look at that! Wow.
Hydratable pizza.
Yeah.
Just make sure your hydrator is set, and it'll be ready in 4 seconds.
Yeah, because the pizza thing is just so funny. Where Leah, as you say, Leah puts it in, and then you hear this like gurgling noise, and then ping, and then she opens it up, and it's this massive pizza. It's,
I've made friends with Edward, who designed the hydrator and the Ortholev and all these things. In fact, what's his name? Mr. Robinson, English gentleman who's been fabricating for the Back to the Future musical. He presented me at London Comic Con. I don't know if you can see this is lighting up. Beep. A replica of my control for the Ortholev. Anyway, Edward recently just sent me his original design drawing of the Ortholev with a lovely note attached saying that I was the best performance upside down ever. Anyway, yeah. But it's been, I have to say, a mixed bag since it was awkward being in the middle of this controversy of them using Crispin's likeness without his permission. I figured, if Crispin wasn't part of the shoot, that he had another film that he couldn't get out of, and that he tried until the last minute, but he couldn't make it work. So I was stepping in, and then I trusted them to take care of the licensing. But I was in the middle of that whole controversy, that legal battle, and kind of blew up in my face since I helped Crispin because I didn't feel like they had treated him right by using his likeness in my makeups. And so he got his settlement for $750,000. And anyway, this is what I just got in the mail from Edward. As you can see,
amazing.
Best inverted performance ever.
Oh, wow.
Really lovely to have that.
That's fantastic.
Thank you, Edward.
That's amazing. It's because obviously when you're a kid and you're watching these films, you don't know about the background stuff. You don't know about the lawsuit. You don't know about the makeup that you had to wear. So on sort of reflection, how do you actually feel? Because for me, like, why didn't they just, like other TV shows or other films, for example, if there are like quite a few films and they have to just recast someone, they just recast someone. So yeah. How did you feel that you were actually doing the role as an actor? You're doing the role, but in theory you're wearing makeup to make yourself look like someone else.
Yeah. So, well, I got, first of all, it was a little disquieting and uncomfortable, to have people like Mike Fox say, "Oh, Crispin ain't gonna like this," or Zemeckis calling me Crispin for a lot of the takes on the Enchantment Under the Sea Dance remake. But I understood that they wanted to keep it like seamless, that you as the audience thought you were seeing, Marty travel in time to the exact recreation of those scenes from the first film. Mm-hmm. I understood that for the continuity and for the believability of the story, they needed to do what they did. And I also trusted that they had an agreement for licensing to use, his life mask in the makeups. But of course, they were butting heads, so they didn't come to that agreement. And it didn't come out until after the third film came out. And Crispin called me and said, what they did to me was not right. And I was like, what did they do to you? And I heard his whole sob stories and how he was abused. And then I heard from, of course, production, how he abused them. And I was like, oh my God, what have I got myself into?
You're sort of in the middle, aren't you? Yeah.
We know it's like in the second, and obviously the scene where you're the older George in the future, you're going to have prosthetic on because it's like to show aging. But in the earlier scenes when he's younger, you do notice like you're often behind a sheet, like when you're hanging the laundry, your face is hidden, or if there's a scene at the dance, your face is behind Lorraine and things like that. So I suppose they kind of tactically shot it to try and minimize how often your face is on screen for those bits.
Well, let's see if I can pull up some things here to demonstrate the makeups. Give me just a second, guys.
Yeah. I think Matafuku. if I pronounce that right. I think they've made a good point. Yeah, because Jennifer was obviously recast, and they didn't make any sort of changes to her whatsoever, did they?
No. Well, I think, and Elizabeth is just a doll. She's just really lovely to hang out with. I think that with Elizabeth, she looked close enough and was a good enough actress to pull it off. That yeah, you're right. It was very difficult. As you can see from the profile, that makeup is obviously from his life mask.
Yeah.
Wow.
But from straight on, it didn't look so much, and so that's why I, as young George, was obscured in the background or out of focus or what have you, because right face on, it looked very odd, as you can see from some of the stills that have gone out there. But I think it was a case where, for whatever reason, Claudia couldn't come back. They, Zemeckis had worked with Elizabeth on Adventures in Babysitting or other projects probably, and we're friends, and she helped out. They probably had a similar situation with Claudia where she couldn't make it work.
Yeah, because I read that her mum wasn't very well, bless her. But yeah, I think the makeup, it does look really good, that side profile. I mean, like watching it as a kid, you obviously can't tell.
And it's to this day, I get about it's gone down from maybe 40% to maybe 30% of people still saying, I didn't realize it was a different actor. And so I think that was their objective, to make it seem like they still had George. And a lot of people, though, claim, oh, well, they had him upside down to obscure that it was going to be another actor. I think even if they had Crispin, they wanted him upside down to torture him.
Yeah, get revenge.
Get him back.
Yeah, get him back. But yeah, it's it's a great makeup job. You can't deny that.
I had heard just a couple years ago that Crispin would often overshoot or undershoot his marks. We have marks on the ground for camera focus, and he's a very intense actor, and so he'd get wrapped up and he'd overshoot his marks, or whatever. He wouldn't. And I think the Bobs wrote the Ortholev thing to have him on this track so they could control his movements, and that he would only mark. All these legends come up, over the years.
Yeah, it's quite cool that there's sort of two actors, certainly for me, who are best known for playing the same character. So I think that's pretty cool. But
I'm a big fan of his work. I was actually disappointed that he didn't come back to play the role. But I also get that his star was rising, and they kind of minimized George. And if you look at it, the first film really is George's story. The second film is Marty's, and the third one is Doc's.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think for me, I'm going to be honest. I'm not really a fan of the third.
Really?
Yeah.
I love. Yeah. The thing is, the third one is just fun. It's like it feels like the second film, in my opinion, I think has set the standard for time travel movies. That I don't think has ever been back in time to the first film, and all that stuff. The way it's all done, is absolutely love that film. And then the third one is gone. We'll do a western, and I love that. I just think the three settings of the films across the three, I think, are just brilliant. I think they've definitely stood the test of time, if you excuse the.
And once again, 2 and 3 were originally one script, and I think they realized it was just going to be too long of a film, and we could probably double our money by making it 2 films.
Yeah, I think 3. Obviously, I am a fan of the franchise, but yeah, 3 would not be my go-to one. My personal favorite is 2, just because of the future. Yeah, I know we haven't got flying cars or hydrating pizzas, and
it's still fun though to see like what
medical things
thought,
hang upside down.
Yeah, it's
we have got the
thing of what we thought was the good technology of the future at the time. So I still find it quite interesting to look back and think, this is what we thought 2015 would have looked like back in like the 1980s. So it's pretty.
So
fun.
my brother had got a pair of the shoes imported back
Has
when
he?
they came out. Yeah,
Wow.
he says
Nice.
he's just sent me it, and they're a nightmare. He's having to charge them up and everything. They're a couple of £100 actually. He is actually in the chat at the minute. This is my brother here, but
Wow, that's cool. I'd love to have a pair of them.
yeah, he hasn't got them now. He did sell them, but
Matt's put
sold
on there about a better voice synthesis because see the second one. There's a lot of everything's voice activated, isn't it? Like the talking jacket and all the stuff in the house is voice activated.
Alexa.
Yeah, we've got Alexa's now, so
Yeah.
phones.
And
Don't say that. Should go
virtual glasses and the wall fax, and
yeah.
although we don't use fax that much anymore, but
no. But they
so you guys
got
want to see some
calls, right?
cosplay?
Yeah, I'm up for it,
Yeah, we'll see that.
Yes, please, definitely.
I like I said, I kind of got discovered by the DeLorean owners, the fans who own DeLoreans started bringing me into their conventions, and then it started doing cast reunions in about 2008, 2009, and over the years I've been just wowed by the fans who internationally, love the films and dress up with their cosplay.
Yeah.
So let's see if I can. Can you see this?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I can.
Wow.
I can get this to.
That's quality.
This is Shannon, who plays Marty. Let's see if I can get it. There we go. The Japanese cosplay is insane. I did a pandemic Zoom with the Japanese that in all the 25 little boxes, every single person had dressed up as a character from Back to the Future.
No way.
It's one of those reunions that we're going back. That was a Team Fox fundraiser where we went to all the different locations. Whittier High School was used as Hill Valley High.
Yeah.
Hill Valley High. Yeah.
Yeah, because I see there's a Facebook group that you're a member of, which is amazing.
The citizens of Hill Valley.
I think it is. Yeah. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, you're a member of that, and you always share like behind the scenes photos and stories.
Yeah, there's quite a few fun groups. So these guys, the Griff that's holding me by the collar there, Brad, he's the one who made the 3D print action figure of Old George.
Okay.
You can see the Griff's gang with the hoverboard.
We've
And
not,
here-
I don't think we've
Not
done
that
the
one.
picture.
That's
Yeah,
the one.
it's still on the last picture.
Oh, you are. Oh,
Yep.
oh, it's not. Oh dear. I was afraid of this. I've got it on a slideshow, and I'm not sure if I can.
There we go.
Oh, what do you got now?
That's the school, the high school.
Oh, okay, you
Yeah,
saw the
that's
school
right,
one. Okay. And let me see if I can. Oops. Did it change for you?
No,
No, it's not
No.
changing for us.
no.
Okay.
I think
Oh, there you
Oh,
go.
there we go. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
there's a bit of a
Oh,
delay.
we've
Oh,
got the
yeah.
Griff now. Yeah.
Okay.
This isn't
There's
one of them. Billy
The
Zane.
Griff
I'm
gang.
sure one of them was Billy Zane. Oh, that might have been the first one actually.
Okay, let's see if I can do this again.
Hoverboard. There's the hoverboard as well.
It was only it was years later that I was told, and then went back and realised that it's actually got Elijah Wood in that scene, isn't it, in the Cafe 80s?
Yeah.
Because he's one of the two kids when he plays the lone gunman. And he said, what's the line? I said, "Oh, you play with your hands? That's like a baby's toy."
Right.
Yeah, that's Elijah Wood, isn't it? He's one of the two kids.
Oh wow.
Wow.
So I'm not sure what you're seeing because I'm trying to go through and keep the slides going. Anyway, like I said, the cosplayers from around the world have just wowed me. Example, the German Biff is a ringer, and the Danish couple that put their little boy in the Old George. Did you guys see that when I pulled that up? Or
Not when you pulled it up, but we have got a picture of it.
there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say that I'd make a joke that was you when you were very, very young, but obviously not. But yeah, just like look at his hair. I
Look at
just
that.
love the hair where it sticks up. It's so.
This is Thomas
So
and his boy, and this is, as far as I know, the only Old George cosplay I've ever seen. in the world.
It's brilliant. It's so
Out of
good.
Denmark.
Yeah. That's
I
so
just
good.
love it. I just love the meeting fans from around the world. That is for me, because I'm a people person. And I love world culture. I think the only way we're going to survive is if the world cultures respect each other and we all get along and figure out, all the dangers that are facing us. And
Yeah,
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
and let's see, what still got my Micromac machines Back to the Future set from when I was a child. Yay!
Yes, I did have that. I don't know where they are now, but I had the police car from 2015 and the DeLorean.
Look at that.
Oh wow, look at that.
I just got
Let me
this
put it on
back
full
of
screen.
fantastic cards, which these I believe came from an artist in Argentina who
Yeah.
oh, upside down. Okay,
Oh wow.
Oh, wow.
things the fans from around the world have been very generous and like you guys, it just is a thrill for me to share the magic that I've been included on, and thank you for having me on.
No, thank you. It's been
Oh, yeah,
absolutely
thank you for coming on.
fantastic. So, are you coming to the UK at all? Is there any conventions planned in the UK?
Invite me.
You can come. You
Right.
can come. You can stay. You can stay in my spare room if you want. It's not
I
probably.
think I haven't heard yet to talk with you guys, but next month in February is the Back to the Future Fan Fest 2 Blackpool.
Okay. Oh right.
And
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know if they're a big enough show to bring me in, but last one they did, I think I came in virtually and did Q&A, and that was a lot of fun. I know that Claudia, Harry, Don, and James, I believe, were all in Manchester.
Yeah.
And then, like I mentioned, London Film and Comic Con has brought me in a few times. Their show in Milton Keynes, also Collector Mania, has brought me in. I'm very fortunate and just love getting over to the UK. I've got lots of cousins over there, and I have yet to see Ireland and Scotland. So,
Oh nice.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, if you're ever in, we're in down south in England. So if you ever
Oh, you are?
down south,
Yeah.
we're in
Southampton,
Portsmouth and
Portsmouth.
Southampton. So
fantastic.
yeah, you couldn't. Well, Blackpool is right up north, so you couldn't get further from where we are. I think probably if we drove, it would probably take 7 hours, maybe 6-7 hours.
Well, talk to your local con organizers and let them know that I'm happy to come, and I can help generate the word to get the fans to come to the show. So
we will do.
it would be a win-win.
It would be, yeah. But before we go, we've got a couple of questions. Tim, do you want to ask your question, or do you want to leave that to the end?
Yeah, if I could, I think James asked it as well in the chat, but this is something that's just come up a few times. I just wondered if you know about this. And I'd noticed for years, I don't point out to me, it's just a weird moment in the film. So Back to the Future 3, where the Doc comes back and he introduces the two kids, Jules and Vern. One of the shots, you just see the kid that's Vern make a gesture, and the gesture kind of like does this thing and then points at his crotch. And there's lots of Reddits and people just saying, what's going on? Why has he done that? And a few people have speculated that perhaps he was deaf and he was signing, or he was trying to indicate someone off behind the camera that he needed to go to the toilet or something like that. And I just wondered if you knew what that was, and we can finally put that to rest and say that's what was going on.
I wasn't on the set, and I didn't. I'm not privy, but I've read also that he was signaling that he needed to go wee wee.
Okay, well, I think we can put that.
It's quite a funny scene every time. When I do watch the third one, even though it's not my favourite, I'll admit that. But every time I do watch it and that scene comes up, I'm like, right, I've got to look. You can't help but look, can you?
You can't unsee it now. I didn't know. I've seen that film so many times. I've never noticed it before. And then
there's a little bit of a pained look on his face too. Like, like go.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
it's classic.
Maybe the kid. They've started pulling some of the grown-ups who were kids at the time in the film. Some of the cast reunions. Maybe you'll see him in the future and be able to clarify. And I'll get back to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
that'd be good to know.
It is one of those questions that needs to be answered. We can't have all these rumours that we think it's this, we think it's that. I think the actor himself needs to say, right, this is what happened.
We gotta know.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those questions that we need to find an answer to. So we got a question from Rhaegar. So, what was it like to work with such a great cast of people in the Back to the Future films?
It was great. It was. I had to pinch myself because everyone across the board were such great professionals and nice people. The behind the scenes crew, from the costumers and the makeup artists, we had probably some of the most talented, highest quality folk in the makeup trailers you can imagine, and everything. Mike Mills, who was mainly in charge of my makeups, he was the foreman on Beetlejuice, and there was Marvin Westmore from the famous Westmore family, makeup artists, and Kenny Mears and Nancy and Zoltan and his wife, who got the Academy Award for the makeups on Mask, came in to help with the applications. The crew on set were so they would think ahead, so they would be prepared, for whatever Zemeckis wanted to do next. They would be just on their toes and ready for anything. If you ever get to meet or see Dangerous Bob, who was one of the prop fabricators on set, he would go back to his trailer when he'd find out what was needed, and he would fabricate a license plate, or the pizza, the hydrator. Originally, Edward had a secret compartment that the pizza would come down in. Lorraine would put in the miniature pizza. The fake top would fall with the heated pizza, and there it would be. But that wasn't going to work take after take. So DB, he was underneath. They cut a hole under the table, under the the hydrator, and he was underneath and popped the pizza up. The magic tricks that he and company had to make. The guys from ILM who were in charge of me hanging upside down, they didn't want to get me down in between every take. So it would be 3.5, 4 hours a day just to get into makeup. Then, that would be, say, a 4 o'clock in the morning call to get in the makeup chair. So I'd be ready to go by 8:30 on set. And then, being hung upside down on the wires. And they didn't always want to get me down. So the guys from ILM on a ladder built a board. And they would have me do a sit-up. And I would lie back on this board and twiddle my thumbs while everyone would go off and have coffee, on a coffee break, because it took too long to get me down and put me back up. So pretty much all day for those very long days, 19, 21, 26-hour long days, I was hung upside down. But the guys who were my handlers from Industrial Light and Magic were just incredibly compassionate and sweet and very wonderful. In front of the camera, the folk were so nice. And, I was such a huge fan. I really loved hanging out with Mike. By the end of the first week, I was hanging out in Michael J. Fox's dressing room and chatting and having a beer and really hearing some incredible stories from his personal life. And I was always a huge fan of Chris Lloyd, and I hadn't any scenes with him. So I asked my makeup artist to introduce me. He said, "Come on out to Hill Valley Exterior 2015, and I'll introduce you." So I went out on a night shoot at about 3:30 in the morning. Finally, Chris comes into the trailer, and Mike Mills introduces me to Chris, and I'm like, "Mr. Lloyd, I love your work, from Buckaroo Banzai and Taxi and everything." And it was, "Thank you," and shook hands, and we just stood there for about 5 more minutes, and he's incredibly quiet. If you know Chris, he's very he's a little more talkative, and then so finally I was just so nice to meet you, bye-bye. And it wasn't until we started doing the reunions, and there was one event where in Beverly Hills, where the theater showed, the Beverly Cinema showed New Beverly Cinema showed the trilogy, and Chris and I were special guests, and we were put up in the projectionist booth for about 40 minutes. And so it was there that we really had a nice conversation for the first time. And since then, we've been pretty good friends. And I learned that he likes exotic plants.
Oh, really? Wow.
It's a soft spot for him. So when I can, I know that we're going to see each other. I always bring him a nice carnivorous plant or something.
Oh, yeah. Venus flytrap.
Yes. Oh, I gave him a B-52 bomber, which is a red Venus flytrap that he just adored. and it was like, oh my god, oh. And about a year and a half later, when I saw him in London, I said, "How's that B-52 bomber? I killed it. I'm never home to water it."
Yeah, 'cause he was on. We got a TV show over called The One Show, and he was on that probably about 6 months ago. But yeah, like you say, he's very, very quiet. He was just, they would ask a question and he'd give like one or two-word answers. But you can sort of tell he's quite a
Yeah, if he knows you, I think he'll relax and give you an extra word or two.
But he's so good in those films as well. He's just
his work is phenomenal. I wish I'd seen him just a year and a half years ago. He played King Lear on stage. I kicking myself that I didn't get to see that. I wish I had.
So got a couple more. It's probably going to be a no to this one. Do you think there'd be Back to the Future 4?
I had a bit of an argument over this with Tim Russ from the Star Trek series when that same question was posed to me at an event, and I said, both the Bobs have said as long as they're alive, there'll not be a Back to the Future 4, and Tim said, no, Universal, if they think they can make enough money and they can throw enough money at the right principles, they'll do it if they want to, and we butted head. I was like, who knows? But like the Bob said, they're probably, as long as they're alive, won't be a Back to the Future 4. And I think that void has been filled a little bit with not only the animated series, but also the video games, and I just read there's a virtual Hill Valley thing in development, and the musical. The musical is
really cool.
I have got a copy of the game, which I have.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, I was up to be the voice of George for that, and they didn't pick me.
No, I did, because I was looking at the cast. Like Christopher Lloyd's there, Claudia's there, Tom Wilson, obviously Biff. But yeah, you're not there. It's very, very sad.
No, they went with Mr. Summers, and I'm thinking it because I kind of insisted that I needed to work under a union contract.
Couple more quick ones. That's another one from James Jarvis. Was there any roles you turned down to work on the Back to the Future at the time?
Were there any roles I turned down to work on Back to the Future? No, I don't think I had anything offered to me at the same time, if that's what you mean. Yeah, I don't recall. I had I love to work, so keep making offers.
Yeah.
I have a very fun, silly, naughty role in a film that'll be finished in about 2 months, called Siblings, where I'm the father of a very badly behaved group of children, adult children too. We'll see if that gets a wide release or not.
Is that you play Frank? Is that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm blushing a little bit thinking about the naughty stuff that I do in it, but it's a lot of fun.
When is that out? I'm looking at it on IMDb.
I spoke with the director just before yesterday, and they're in the last 2 months of work in post-production.
Okay.
Okay.
Siblings. So let's keep an eye out for that, people. And one more question. What are your top 5 movies of all time?
Oh yeah. Oh gosh.
Very difficult to answer. Yeah.
Top 5. That's so hard to. I'm a big fan of so many different genres and films and actors, and I love good storytelling. I just watched the Hobbit trilogy the other night. I just love the first Star Wars films and with the new Anakin series, or not Anakin.
The
Obi-Wan series they've done for Star Wars, or the
the new TV series. you know, the brain's kind of frying right now because I didn't have much of a breakfast. There's Obi-Wan, Mandalorian. What's the other third new one?
The Book of Boba Fett, wasn't it?
It's the series, the TV series.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's so good. It's so incredibly well made. Acting
Andor.
Andor.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
I've not seen that.
Really incredible. I have, like I said, a hard time answering questions on what's your favorite because I change and yet I have so many. It's hard to put what the top 5 are. I'll say it again.
It's one of those things. Like if anyone asks me like favorite film or favorite games, it can change. So I'd say it's more like what would you rank in your top rank film? There's probably a lot of stuff that's like joint first and joint second and joint third. To then say 5, it's like, well, they're all going to come out of my top rank, which at any given day I could say is actually my favorite film, or favorite game.
And I go through changes. Like I mentioned before we went on the air that I used to DJ, and you saw my vinyl behind me. Yeah. You know, I have so many musical favorites that it's like I can mix when I have access to the physical formats of LPs and CDs and other recordings. The same thing with movies. If I can watch a Laurel and Hardy or a favorite Buster Keaton, you know, I have the library is so vast over the years. There's so many favorites of so many different genres. Once again, it's hard to play favorites.
Yeah,
because my favorites change all the time. It's very difficult, isn't it? It's very difficult. But Jeffrey, thank you so much. It's been absolutely wonderful to speak to you and to listen to your stories and behind the scenes secrets and show us your photos as well. It's been absolutely wonderful, and hopefully, fingers crossed, if you do come to the UK for any sort of conventions, then we'll pop along and say hello.
Right. Well, you can follow me on Twitter. It's at JEF Weissman, WEISSMAN. On Instagram at Jeffrey J. Weissman. I have a Facebook page, Jeffrey Weissman Actor. Once again, my way out of date website, jeffreyweissman.com. You can actually email me through, and I'll have, like I said, lots of choices of photos. If anyone wants an autographed photo for their beloved who loves, there you are. Yeah, if you run your mouse across the film strip, there's a store page, or just go to the Jeffrey at jeffreyweissman.com link there, and you can email me. And stay in touch, and I'll see you in the future.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But no, thank you very, very much. Absolutely, massive thanks. So
triangle face, that's what I was trying to do.
It's earlier.
So before we go, follow Jeffrey on Twitter and Instagram. I think we follow each other on Twitter, but we're going to follow you on Instagram. We will get that done.
I thought someone was following me.
Sorry?
I was going to call a cop. I thought someone was following me.
Yeah, that was us. Yeah, that was us with like dark glasses and binoculars. But no, thank you so much. And hopefully stay in touch. And like you say, we will see you in the future. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, and don't forget to send me your theme song so I can keep dancing.
Yes, I'll make a note of that. I have got a notepad. I will email you the theme tune, and you can do whatever you want with that. But no, thank you very much. All right, good night, everyone, and we will see you probably next week. So take care.
Bye-bye.